How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about Lucid, which had quite the pullback inside of the market. It got down to $21.77 and was able to close above $25. So for all of my traders out there, it did provide a big time opportunity since we saw a strong recovery in the NASDAQ. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to be going on Fintel, taking a look at the short interest information and the recent institutional ownership. The reason why this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to be taking a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis for Lucid. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $25.28, being up 5.47%. On the low, it tested $21.77, and then on the high, testing $25.45. So when we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 34.865 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 27.768 million shares. So we did have above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw some strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 37.04. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 100-day, the 50-day, the 200-day, and as well as the 21-day EMA. So you can see as far as for the low of the day, we got down to $21.77. And keep in mind, this is an area of support that Lucid is familiar with. So now going in as far as for the high of the day, it was at $25.45. So if you're looking for another move up, then the next level to keep an eye on will be right here around 26.60. If you see resistance at 26.60, then expect that there will be a pullback and it'll bring it back down to the $24 area. But if we end up breaking through 26.60, that's where I want to see if we could reclaim the $27.50. This will be very key because if Lucid could actually do this, things do look good going into next week and we can get a possible test going above 30. If we end up having a pullback, I don't see the pullback being as far as 21.77, but we could easily start holding on to a support area here right around $23.33. So let's see what it does going into tomorrow, but for the most part, you really want to see this stock finish above $25. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for Lucid. Scrolling down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions, while red rows indicate closed positions. So when we take a look at recent filings for the 24th, we've already covered the rest in the previous video. We have QCGLRX that purchased 1,810 shares. We also do have Pomix that purchased 27,584 shares. And then we also have SSIJ that came in with a short position of 6,720 shares. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 59.88%, and then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 6.37 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 55,000, updated 25 minutes ago, and then for the short borrow fee rate, the latest being at 7.38%. When we take a look at the history of the short volume, we can see for the close of the 22nd, it was at 63.74. And then when we take a look at the close for the 23rd, which was yesterday, it was at 59.88. So what remains the same, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So now let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for Lucid. On the inflow, it was 121, and then on the outflow, it was 170. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 2.25. On the medium, it was 76.83, and then on the small, it was 42.00. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 18.10, and then on the medium, it was 101, and then on the small, it was 50.15. When we take a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you can see for February the 24th, it being a big time outflow of 15.85 million. No surprises since we did have a strong sell off inside of the markets in the earlier parts of the trading session. And then when we analyze numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more selling than we had buying. And then when we take a look at the large, which represents whales, institutions, and funds, we had more selling than we had buying. And keep in mind, all these numbers that I discussed are in the millions. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 2.12%. And you know what? This is not too bad considering how volatile the markets were. But one thing that was very clear, there was a lot of buying that picked up as we got towards the end of the day, and this was beneficial. Like I said, the stock hit a low of $21.77 and was able to close above $25. So going into tomorrow, if you're going to be trading it, let's talk about the strategy inside of the final thoughts. Let's get into it right now. So for my final thoughts for Lucid in regards to the price action, the move that we want to see to the upside is the $27.50. This is a very key area. If it is unable to get there, and if it wants to stay trading between 25 and as well as 26, we might have a pullback that can go to around $24.60. And if that level does break, then I can see us breaking 24, and then we'll be testing in the high 23s. So keep an eye on these particular levels. And if you are going to be playing to the long side, please pay attention to the overall sector. Like I was talking about in my previous videos, we had Tesla that ran up almost $100 on the day. And all of the EV plays on my list had very strong days. So of course for Lucid, you have to look forward to seeing a strong move. And this is why I say if you're going to be trading it, you want to follow the trend. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, we can see institutions are continuing to load up on shares. And this is great for anyone who's a long-term investor. And then when we take a look at the short interest information, Lucid does continue to have short squeeze potential. So this is why when you have a lot of that buying volume coming into the play, like we saw today, we can see volatility, either it's coming down or whether it's going up. But one thing to keep in mind with this high short interest, it just tells us there's a lot of negative market sentiment in the stock. So that's why going into earnings, I want to make sure you're prepared. And if you are a long-term investor, I would exercise a lot of patience. We have been realizing stocks that end up releasing earnings inside of the after hours or in the pre-market, doesn't matter what time it is, if they don't have strong guidance, you're going to see that stock really get hammered. So I know as far as for Lucid is concerned, they are a brand new car company, let's be honest here, and there's a good chance there might be some hiccups when they do that report. And that's why I say it is better to be patient. There are many opportunities you'll be able to get this stock at a better price, and I'm going to keep a very close eye on it because I would like to actually grab some shares when it falls below $20. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let's see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. We'll talk soon.